Hi dear guys and girls, I'm Petra, life coach and advocate for survivors of narcissistic and emotional abuse. So let's talk about toxic shame. You know, shame is a very normal emotion to go through. We've all experienced shame throughout our lives. You may be shamed by peers, by family members, by friends. And it's very normal, again, normal emotion to go through. It becomes toxic when we internalize the shame. Now, very often you'll see with children, for example, they'll be shamed for, I don't know, in school maybe, shamed for having a wrong color coordination with their clothing. That sort of very petty stuff, where a child may feel shame just in that moment and then 20 minutes later they've forgotten about it. That is when we externalize it with whatever is said or said to us or done to us. But it becomes toxic when we take on that shame, when we take on the stuff that is said to us about ourselves, the punishment, the abuse, and we internalize that. So we keep it, we sort of harbor it within ourselves, and it erodes your self-esteem, it erodes your sense of self, your development. It paralyzes you in most aspects of your life. And when you have grown up in dysfunction, shame, toxic shame, is started from a very young age. If you have been raised by toxic parents, it literally starts in the womb, because you are marinating in toxicity, in the toxicity of the home. And when you are born, you know, you have those narcissistic parents who verbalize, who express their judgment on you verbally. They express it even non-verbally. You are physically punished for just showing up as yourself. You are made to believe that you are not worth anyone's time or energy or space. You're not worthy of your own space. And this is what eats away at your self-esteem. This is what erodes every single true, this is what erodes your true essence. So, you know, if you are suffering from toxic shame inflicted by narcissistic parents, this will be your normal throughout life. When you have encountered narcissists later on in life, where you have endured that trauma at a later stage in your life, then the toxic shame is not as drenching as when you have experienced it all of your life. So, you know, toxic shame, there is very much to be said about that. How do you recognize when you have toxic shame? It's when you have this chronic feeling of unworthiness, this chronic feeling of not being able to show up as yourself, not being able to voice your opinion, not being able to smile or laugh at certain situations because you're looking to see how is that going to be responded to. So you may even have a poker face on, where you may be laughing inside about something, but don't dare to show it because your normal has become, by your toxic parents, if you laugh, you are not allowed to do that. You will be punished for laughing, punishing for having that stupid grin on your face. You know, this is just to give an example. But the toxic shame, again, chronic feeling of unworthiness. You may have these thoughts about yourself. Your inner critic is then put into the foreground, and your inner critic will constantly be saying to you, you are stupid, you are ugly, you are ignorant, you are not worth anyone's time, you are not worthy of love, you are broken, you are broken. This is the inner critic, which we all have. We all have an inner critic. But a narcissistic parent will blow up this inner critic in your mind by abusing you for all of these years. And this is the voice that will keep coming up. This is the voice that you will, it's like a continuous chatter in your mind. So there are varying degrees in toxic shame. And as I said, you know, if you have encountered narcissists, if you have been shamed later on in your life, it is not as encompassing. It doesn't swallow you up whole. You may feel it, but it is easier and quicker for you to get over it, to work through it and to release that toxic shame. But when this has been your normal for most of your life, it is very difficult to see yourself in a different light, from a different perspective. But it is very important that you start to see yourself in a different perspective, because again, toxic shame erodes every single aspect of your life. It affects not only the relationship with yourself, but also relationship with others, romantic relationships, friendships, work relationships, where because you are experiencing this toxic shame all the time, you will feel that you have to put brakes on how you really want to show up. And this, I think, is the core of not, or having the feeling of not being able to move on, having the feeling of being stuck in your life. So when you are looking at toxic shame, it is very important to discover your core beliefs, because we all have core beliefs. Our core beliefs that keep us stuck are the core beliefs that are very limiting. You have a break on that because you believe something about yourself that is usually not true, but has been instilled in your mind through toxicity, through narcissists. You will take it on as your own. You will internalize that. You will live down to that expectation of you instead of living up to the expectations that you have for yourself. So again, very important to look at your core beliefs. And the way I had done this, when I was involved in a romantic sense with the very first narcissist that I encountered, was a man that I lived with for 8 years. His abuse, part of his abuse would be, you are so terribly ugly on the inside and out. No man will ever want you. Even if you ever leave me, which man is going to want you? You will never find someone to love you. You are unworthy. He would tell me this. You are unworthy of my attention. I have other more important things to tend to. So all of this shame, this is what I marinated in for the duration of that relationship, which was 8 years. And also later on, when I encountered narcissistic friends, the same toxic shame was placed onto me, and was in the form of you are a terrible mother, or you call yourself a friend but you are not a friend, you have no integrity, you are not authentic, you're a terrible coach, I was also told. And you know, when stuff like this is said to you, you take it on as your own, you make it your own, you internalize that, and you base your thoughts, your life, your actions, your words on that core belief. And that core belief does not even belong to you. It was put there through someone who was trying to break your spirit, break your energy, and keep you stuck in a place of unworthiness. So internalizing that is paralyzing you, not only on the inside but also on the outside. So it is very important to look at those core beliefs, to get clarity with those core beliefs. And the way to get clarity is to get into conversation with yourself. Now, I've spoken about this very many times, where I've said journal, journal, journal. Journal is such a therapeutic, such a beautiful way of getting your truth out, moving that toxic energy that you have within yourself, moving it out and onto paper, onto your device, onto your iPad, for example. But this is the way to get into conversation with yourself, to uncover what are truly my thoughts about myself, and what are the thoughts that belong to someone else? What is someone else's opinion about my person? So you sit, get a pen and paper, and just get into that conversation with yourself. And you know, the more quiet you become, this is a form of meditation, the more quiet you become, the more you can hear. And you will hear your inner critic speaking very loudly, because the inner critic speaks to us on a daily basis. But we become so used to that voice that we don't pay much attention. It's there all the time. And this is also the place where the narcissist wants to keep you. They want to keep you in a state of unconsciousness, of unawareness. So by sitting and talking to yourself in your mind and writing down what your thoughts and your feelings are, this is how you become aware and conscious of the conversations that you are having with yourself. So being in narcissistic abuse, experiencing narcissistic abuse, is a state of unconsciousness. And you want to make that shift from being unconscious to being conscious. So write down your core beliefs. What are they? What are they? They are usually very simple sentences that we continue to speak to ourselves in our mind every single day. My core beliefs were, I'm not good enough. I am not allowed to show up. I am not allowed to shine my light. I have to be quiet. I have to swallow all the hurt and the anger. I'm not allowed to speak about it because you're not allowed to show anger. It's a bad emotion. This is the stuff that is put onto us by toxic people. So those are just a few of the core beliefs that I had. I could never make it. I didn't permit myself to be successful. I felt that I didn't have a voice, that no one would listen to me. So all these core beliefs, you know, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm not worthy of love, I am not worthy of attention. These are the core beliefs that weigh on us. We carry them around in a backpack, and this is how we lug it through life, and it weighs on us, weighs on our spiritual shoulders, weighs on our mind, on our heart, on our emotions, and again it paralyzes everything that you set out to do. So first, gain clarity about your core beliefs. What are they? Write them down. Look at them and sift through all that mess and make it very clear to yourself which are mine and which are not mine. And usually the stuff that is weighing you down is not your stuff. It's the stuff that the narcissist has put there. So gain clarity on those core beliefs. And the solution to toxic shame, the antidote to toxic shame, is giving yourself self-love, is giving yourself compassion. And the way to do that, I mean, it's a very easy thing to say, give yourself compassion and love, but the question always remains, how do you do that? I think the best way to deal with toxic shame is to speak it, verbalize it. I am feeling shameful. I feel ashamed. Verbalize that. There is so much power in words. There is so much power in your truth. But again, this is where toxic shame comes in again, is when you feel that you cannot speak your truth, you cannot verbalize that truth, because there is shame attached to that. But the antidote is to speak it. Speak your truth, whether it is talking therapy. You know, this is what I find so important when I am coaching all the wonderful clients that I get to speak to every day, is talk it through, tell your truth, tell your story, relay your experiences. And if you don't, if you cannot find a good coach, or if you cannot find a good therapist, if you have someone that you trust, even if you start there, someone that you trust, that you can tell your experiences to, even if they do not fully understand the impact that narcissistic abuse has had on you, you talk it through. It's getting it out of your system by talking about it. And also the self-compassion talk. When you have identified your core beliefs about yourself, that is when you can compensate those thoughts and those talks to yourself with self-compassion talk. The same way you would speak to a young child or a baby. I've also said this so often. You would not reprimand a young child who is going through a very challenging time. You would not say to them, just shut up and get on with it. You would say, how can I help you? I'm so sorry for what you're going through. How can I make things easier on you? Or just to say, I understand why you're feeling this way. That is self-compassion. That is, self-compassion is telling your truth, but not putting judgment on that. Because you have had enough judgment. You and I, everyone who has been through narcissistic and emotional abuse has had enough judgment put on us. This is all we see. This is all that is thrown at us every single day. Judgment, judgment, judgment. Blaming, shaming. So it does not help when you are in that healing stage and you are looking at your core beliefs. It does not help to judge those beliefs. All it has to do with is telling your truth and just looking at your truth, whatever you have written on paper, looking at that with compassion and understanding and saying, wow, you have been through all of this. These are the talks that you are having in your own mind, but you are still here. That is how you show that compassion. Stop judging your truth. So I realized that that solution is just a very tiny solution in that whole story, but this is where you start. Healing is a process. You cannot be unloving and unkind to yourself and say, well, I'm now out of this relationship, so I need to be over it. It does not work. That may work with a normal relationship, with a healthy relationship that has ended, but that does not work when you are coming out of a narcissistic relationship. You have been running an emotional marathon, and you need to give yourself the time to go through that healing process. Everything in life is a process. Everything in life is energy. And the same energy of toxic shame that you have been carrying around with you needs to be released. And this is where you start, by getting clarity on your core beliefs. And of course, there's a lot more to that. But I think for any of you who have just discovered that it's narcissistic abuse that you have been through, this is the best place to start, to release that very toxic energy of toxic shame. So I hope that that has helped some. Again, please share your comments here down below. Please share your stories with me. Please feel free to email me. I always have my website and my email address just below the video in the description box. Take care of yourselves and know that you are worthy of everything good in life. See you all next time. Bye now.